Hello, friends. How are you today? Well, we had a wonderful, wonderful show. I'm so excited about it. This is Fully Erect with Kelly Bowen Wilson. And basically, we are diving into people that are living their life fully with nothing in their way. And they're going to do it their way. And they're going to live their truth. I had some really killer guests on tonight. It was Jarrod, who is a fine arts photographer, and I had Roger and Jackie Chieffalo, who own their own store here in Fort Worth, Texas, called Chieffalo Americana. Sometimes I have a hard time saying it because I'm in that store so much I forget their name. But anyway, they are delightful. I cannot even tell you how wonderful the podcast was. I hope you guys will all listen. Some great information about starting your own business if you're an entrepreneur, great information about if you want to be an artist, just great information about relationships and how important synergy and energy and vibration is, and that things just don't happen by luck. So guys, get out there and listen to the podcast. I think you'll enjoy it. I had a blast. And again, I am so grateful to have these guys tonight. It was such a fun time. Did he touch your
nipples?
Ask me. We're going there.
Bless your heart.
Welcome. I want to thank you all with immense gratitude for spending time with me. This is a podcast where we dive deep into the real, raw, and often taboo conversations about culture, relationships, and intimacy. We keep it honest, insightful, and full of humor, creating a space where nothing is off limits. Think of it as your late night conversations with your posse. At its core, the Fully Erect podcast is about empowerment, giving people the confidence to own their desires, communicate openly in their relationships, and break free from outdated stigmas. So join me. We're breaking barriers and breaking stereotypes. She decided to join us today. We invited her.
I decided to crash the party.
All right, Jackie, you crashed the party. We're
Yes.
so excited for you to come on in. You're the one that introduced Jarrod to me. And we've had Jackie on, and she is a great, great person and guest. And she brought us some, they are non-alcoholic drinks, but they have like wormwood and...
Where's the bottle? Did we leave it up there?
what's in that stuff? Yeah, botanicals.
Yeah.
And I thought I felt a little dizzy, but she says no, unless you have parasites. But I'm going to keep drinking it because maybe I do. Because
Well,
there's
we all
something that
do.
kind of we all have them.
Yeah, you had like sushi lately?
I'm trying not to eat sushi because
I'm
everything that I've
sorry
been.
for you.
Oh, and I love it. You don't understand. I love it.
Yeah.
So
And-
Jarrod, it's like.
Yeah.
They say parasites, and more she tells us, here's the bottle. What is it
Here's
called?
the other one. We're not having classic.
that wormwood? I
We're
think it makes
having
me high.
fresh herbal to replace dark spirit. So this one's more like the dark.
So that's taking the dark out of me. I like it. I've got some darkness.
Here, you want
Or is it infusing the darkness inside you?
It's pulling it. I feel it in my fingers and my toes. It's coming out.
It like worms around
It's
and
worming in
finds
me.
your dark.
You know, I thought I
you-
felt a
Nucleus,
worm.
yeah.
I felt a worm in my head.
Yeah.
No, it's like this ayahuasca stuff.
Didn't our-
Like, tell us, Jarrod, what you think of that.
Didn't
I actually,
RFK have like a dead worm in his brain?
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But ayahuasca does help you with trauma healing.
Do
they
we
say.
know that for a fact?
do
No,
Yeah,
Kelly
how do
Bowen
you-
Wilson does not know that for a fact. I don't know
will
who
say
to
How do you
believe in
track
that.
that?
I feel like that could be.
I will say this.
'Kay.
This is what I'll say about it.
As I drink my wormwood.
We live in a world where we want something that fixes.
To fix it.
And so you're trying to tell me that 36 hours of vomiting some liquid with some shaman in some tent is supposed to heal decades of trauma.
Right. Then we
I
all
just
put it like
barfing.
that.
You just put it like that. I don't know, you know?
Because it opens my mind. Or is it just another masking agent that lets me feel something? But what am I really doing to try to heal trauma? Decades of trauma is not going to get fixed by a 48-hour retreat.
Of throwing up.
Decades of
I mean,
trauma
they're doing
requires...
they're like this.
You have millions of synapses that have been fired and wired to create these narratives, and it takes a long time to unravel those. Now, could there be something that helps open a channel that then someone professional can help you walk through? 100%.
Maybe that's what it is.
Well,
I don't
what
think
channel?
most people
See,
are.
no, it is being touted as do this and like and then your world
and then you're
free.
fixed is what you're saying.
Yeah.
They say you're fixed.
Yeah, which is like
You think it's bullshit.
I just know from my experience There's not a pill or anything that could take what I carried for 30 plus years that could fix something. I have to understand what the root cause is. And then can I find to understand what those things that triggered are? Can I sit with those? And then can I love myself through those to understand that, hey, just because that's what it was, that's not what it is today. It's not me sitting in the dark with Aaron Rodgers and throwing up with some certified shaman that's going to make me, no shit, I'm seeing the light. I'm taking hallucinogenics.
Yeah.
Back in my days when I was doing drugs and drinking, I would take mushrooms and sit by a little air conditioning unit outside, and you know what? I heard Pink fucking Floyd the entire time. It was fucking amazing.
Sounds really luxurious, sitting by an air conditioning vent. I don't know,
well,
man.
just as luxurious as vomiting in a tent.
No, but White Lotus. I don't know if you probably haven't seen that because you're not a big TV watcher,
I haven't seen
right?
that documentary. No, I haven't.
It's not a fucking documentary, dude.
Okay.
It's
a fiction show. Okay, good.
White Lotus. Yeah. You've heard about it.
Yes,
You're being a smart aleck. Okay. Well, don't do that. This is my pod. Look at this. So anyway, no, it's a
fun
joke.
little pissing contest on
but
Fully Erect.
This White Lotus. So anyway, they go to this like in the woods, right? And they go and take. I'm thinking it's ayahuasca. Okay.
Probably.
And I mean profusely puking and just whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
why
do you want to do that? Like, I don't know. I don't. If it works and it helps you, like you said, open that up so that. And what's the shaman doing? And these were not shaman; they look like meth heads, like drug people in a drug den. There
you go.
The people selling it.
Insert what you want it to be today.
And something came out of their mouth. This big, just like this.
I will say this: there was this woman
was like
that
a
I know,
bubble that big,
and that I knew from in the world of sobriety, and she was telling me that she started doing ayahuasca, and Jarrod, I would have these years of just dysfunctional relationships, and I took it, and it just all went away. She was like, and one time I was at a grocery store, and these people came up to me, and this mother and daughter, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're glowing. And I was like, no shit, you're fucking high as balls off this hallucinogenic.
You're glowing. You're iridescent.
That's just my world, because look, I came from I speak of that out of my experience, and it's just called
it's really
work.
just your experience,
Because, and that's the route of true healing, of fully connecting within, not using something to mask or anything to elicit. Our bodies have this innate ability to hold all the shit. We also have this innate ability, if we go look and find it, we heal it on our own. And so
it's hard to do.
It is.
It's very hard to do.
And so
I applaud you.
I tell people that in a way of like, that to me just sounds like another masking agent.
Mm-hmm. So, like, you don't believe in this whole California high thing?
No, not for me.
I mean, you say not for you, but like a lot of these people saying, oh, they love marijuana.
California high?
It's like they're supposed to be sober, but now they're
but they're
only
smoking
smoking weed, but they only smoke marijuana.
Okay.
But they don't have.
Again,
but when you have an addiction problem, you really shouldn't do anything mind altering, right?
Again, I look at it in this way. Yeah.
I mean,
I love this.
Yeah.
What is this stuff again? Parasite cleanse. I love it.
Something that alters my mind, something that masks my brain. That's not sobriety to me.
Right.
I mean, that's what I would. It's like that's what you're trained. I mean, in my old school brain, I'm like, if you're addicted to something,
that might be the old school side of it for me. But of like,
I mean, that's just
am I
what
going through this life unmasked as much as possible without any outside sources? Now, granted, I can still be from a standpoint of, whether it be shopping or food or things like that.
There's other things.
Can be addictive.
100%.
Yeah.
But
you can take it in
There's
other
lots
ways.
of ways to avoid who you are.
Yes.
What does that look like for you? What do you think you feel to avoid? Like, what? I'm just curious. Like, do you buy too many records? Do you?
Oh.
Are you the guy that goes on the health? Like, I can get on this health stuff and then go, Kelly, stop ordering.
Yeah.
Like, stuff
Oh,
that's
I
gonna
can
make your
definitely do that.
make your face go like
Yeah.
that.
Brownies, too many brownies.
Too much. Stop, Jack.
Beauty tape.
Too much beauty tape. And
Yeah.
one night I had my face taped like this.
Yeah.
I'm
Face
thinking,
taping is big.
why do I woke up and I swear I think I looked like I had an eyebrow lift, but it went back down in 5 seconds. It was like, I think it just made it worse.
Did you take a video of this?
No.
Will you do it next time?
Yes,
you
of
should.
course I
Please.
would, Jarrod. I would
Yes.
never not let you see
That
that.
would be wonderful.
I think next podcast, everyone
poor
should
husband.
be wearing brownies.
It's like, oh, yeah.
Maybe on the Mother's Day one.
But you know,
Yeah.
the Mother's Day would be
Yeah.
great. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. We put the eye. Now there are some of the under eye. I don't know. I know you're a guy, but guys do it too. But the under eye things that you
The
can
little-
put under your eyes.
Yeah, I know. I have some.
Okay.
Like I just got.
And but some really work. They
Oh,
really
great.
brighten you up.
Now, what would be interesting is that, like, your daughter's age.
Right.
How old is she? She's like 20.
20.
Okay, that it will be the ultimate tester to see if all this shit works, because that age group has
Because
been
we're screwed.
using
Yeah.
products.
Yeah.
Has been
Think
using
about it.
all these
And
serums
they've also
and everything.
Botox.
Yeah.
I mean, they started the Botoxing in their 20s.
Well, just even like the serums and everything like that. It'll be interesting to see if this is just all snake oil.
Yeah,
'cause
I don't know that my daughter would be the.
I just meant
yeah, I mean, like
daughter's
she's,
age.
Yeah. She's a little.
Why do you
chill.
say that more?
Well,
just
she's
not so vain like that?
Yeah, she's a little chill on the products. I mean, she definitely loves her products, but she's not. I mean, I know girls her age who
That are obsessed. Like,
they're already getting injectables and
Yeah, they
they're
are.
on
I mean-
Ozempic, and I mean they got nose jobs right when they graduated. High school.
I mean, boob lifts.
And their
Y'all
nose isn't
boob
even
lifts
fully
at
I
20.
know,
yet.
I know. I think about my nose when I was 18 or 17, and it was like I had a big nose. My
But-
face wasn't done growing.
I know
into
it's not
chin.
fully done. Well, the problem is if you're thinking your boobs are sagging in your 20s, you got another thing
I never
coming
thought that.
in your 50s.
Tell me
I'm
about
like,
it.
I mean, seriously, stop. I mean, men can have boobs too. They can have, like, I've seen lately a
Well,
lot of
everybody's
man
feeling
boobs.
sensitive right now.
I've seen a lot of man boobs lately. Like, I'm like, wow, is that in to show that? Like, it's tight. They're
Isn't
tight.
that called the dad bod? Like how? it's
No,
a hot-
Jackie, I don't think these are all dads. These
Well,
are just
no, I'm
men
saying-
that
Universal
There's this
name.
universal
It's the
name.
dad bod.
Oh,
which
dad
is-
bod.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the dad bod. It's like kind of soft,
no,
and
there's no-
squishy,
No,
and
no.
like booby.
It's not so much like that. I'm telling you, I think there's something about guys right now wearing tighter shirts and their nipples showing in their, I call it man boobs. I'm like, I don't know why, is it in to show that? They're not really necessarily like dad bods. It's just the nipple showing. It's not cool.
I don't.
I've never. I mean, babe.
I'm
You
not-
don't notice it? You know what it is?
I'm not watching for man.
No, you know what
Yeah,
I
I'm
think it
not
is?
looking at my
Well, I think it's the
customers'
nylon
nipples.
shirts. And they show when they don't wear t-shirt.
Well, because
you're wearing t-shirts, you wouldn't
They're
see
always
it.
wearing like the sport material. That's like. Is that
That's
what you
it. What I mean,
like
is that's
golf
not nylon.
shirt?
What is that?
Yeah.
What's
Which
that
is
made
plastic.
out of? Not plastic, Jackie.
Well, it is. It's plastic.
So Jackie and Jarrod, I want y'all to talk a little bit about how y'all met each other, and like what you've done in business together, because
Yeah.
you guys have collaborated on some things. So
We have
let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, we realized you being in more of a, in a clothing lifestyle,
yeah.
me in fine art photography, but we also understood early on that we have the same customer.
Yeah.
Yes.
You do.
And
Yeah.
so we met because I was working with their next door neighbor who is an interior designer within their shop.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
She introduced us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like, you need to meet Roger and Jackie. They work with artists. They have a really cool aesthetic. Your stuff would look great in there. I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
And so met them, and they just kind of became my de facto family.
Where'd you go? Come here, hun.
Around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fourth wall, Jackie.
Sorry.
No.
Always break.
Her husband is enamored by the store, so he's just looking around. But I do think that, like y'all's collaboration turned into a friendship, obviously. So now are y'all collaborating on anything, or what do you have going? Like, y'all are doing something at the
There's
buoy?
always- No, buoy is separate.
Okay.
So that's like a whole separate. Hi.
Hey there.
Um,
Hey, buddy. Welcome.
Hey.
that buoy's like a completely
like it.
separate thing. However, didn't the director of buoy come in while you were there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was cool.
That was
so, right when we were getting to know everyone at Auberge and like Buoy House, and then I guess like Emily came in, maybe just randomly to say
Say hi?
hi.
Yeah.
And I do feel like people come in whenever Jarrod is there. There's always like some weird kismety thing that.
See?
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
talked about that. It's not
Yeah.
luck. It's an
No.
energy.
No.
Yeah.
It's a
Well-
high vibration. I think he has like a high vibration.
Yeah. Well, I do too.
Well, and so
Well, I
do
mean, I'm not.
Well, we're like
No, you do.
It's
I
called
know.
the Jackie Magic. That's what we call
It's
it.
called the Jacko.
And the thing
no, it's
that
not Jacko. It's
I like Jacko.
The thing that I recognized early on too was that even though different businesses and scaling at different sides, y'all were early in your world as I was, and just from a collaborative side of like-mindedness from even a business side,
Yeah.
was fun to really work
Yeah.
with. And so y'all introduced me into the world of the Bowie House, which is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, to have representation with them. And then there's still certain things that I'll do for y'all.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a headshot here or
Frog.
let
buckle
me
thing.
play
Yeah,
around
yeah,
with the
yeah,
buckles
yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, that's always just incredibly fun.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I enjoy is like now that we're outside of like the initial doing stuff with you, and then I hear, you know, someone is like, "Oh, we're getting a Jarrod Orm like installed in our house out in like Alito," and I'm like, "You are?" Like, not that I have anything to do with that, but I do feel a little like, "Aw, like that's great," you know? Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like. And then I hear like other people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just put him in our office," and I was just, it was our friend. He was showing scenes from his office, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
And he had a Jarrod in
He
there?
has like Jarrod Orms in all his like whatever like consult rooms or
Yeah.
something, and I was like,
One in every
"What?"
room?
I think he's yeah.
You know, like 5 pieces.
Yeah. And that makes me like
Yeah, it's
so
very
happy.
cool.
No, it's cool
Yeah.
of like when working with like-minded people and from a collaborative side
Yeah.
of just building out networks.
Yeah.
And seeing where that takes. And it's really just in this cooperative way of
It's not
wanting-
forced.
No.
See, that's the
and
issue.
it's wanting the other person, you know, these two are like two of the biggest champions in the world of my work, and it's not done out of obligation. It's done that they found a connection and they speak to it in a way that's not just from a salesy side or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
In the same way that I do within all of their work. I mean, in
That's
the
right.
times that I travel anywhere and they're like, "Damn, that is a nice felt hat." I'm like, "Son, sit down and let me tell you about it. Because I wish the man was here to tell you
Yeah.
about it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher the story about it.
I know.
But
I butcher
You
it
know,
every time. I have no idea.
when I tell them
Where
it's
mine's
a
from, yeah.
1963 resistol that has been restitched and reloved and everything, and they look at it and they're like, "It's a piece of art," and I'm like, "I know,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I get to wear this thing everywhere I
Yeah.
go. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of artists that we've shown in our space, but for us, it's not really. I don't think the art is as much a business as it is a friendship that we strike with these different artists, and whether we don't really. Money is not the first thing we think about, or how are we going to make money on these people. We think about how can we help these artists succeed and evolve, and they make money, and you know, we see them their craft get better, and them build clientele, and that's a very unselfish approach to doing business. But that's really been the way we've done business from day one, and I think you don't immediately see a return on that kind of investment, but over a long period of time it works. It works, you know, we make money, but we build relationships.
Yeah.
And what Jarrod was talking about, I sort of describe that as you have like-minded people who unselfishly promote their friends without any desire to get anything in return. And you know, that's the purest form of friendship is helping another person. And I think we take that approach, and Jarrod obviously takes that approach with us, and you know, I don't think there's enough of that in the world today.
No, I think because the bottom line is money.
Yeah.
They always, you know.
It's people that are grabbing of what can I get right now.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, like Roger was talking about, like the fine art world is one that, yeah, some people can walk in and immediately get something. What it is for a lot of times, they may see something that interests them, But then it's up to me to nurture and grow that relationship over time. So when they are ready, then I'm ready. And I tell them, like, this piece is going to be here when you're ready. And there's never a pressure side of like, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you
You
ready?
never do that, or reconnecting, constantly hounding them.
Yeah, and I mean, I will just in the case of like if I haven't heard from someone in a while that said that they were interested, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, oh my gosh, I got so busy and da da da. We're actually looking at this. Then there's been sometimes they're like, I won't hear from someone for 18 months, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey,
I'm
can we
ready.
get can we get two 60 by 40 frame pieces da da da? And I'm like, oh, rock and roll. But like for me, it is that long term relationship. And you know, we were talking earlier, you know, of relationships, and you're asking me like, tell me about like a bad instance of working with someone. I'm
Yeah,
like,
like what's the worst case scenario? Yeah, that's happened to you. You said nothing.
I have had nothing because
A framer. You said
I mean, no, it was
Changing a frame.
the biggest. Yeah, the frame was messed up twice. The worst incident was I went to go meet with this designer. She's flipping through my portfolio, and you know, shoot like some old like motels and things like that, bring them to life. She's flipping through. She's like, "What's up with all these like broken motels?"
you said broken motel.
And I go, huh?
Yeah.
And she goes, what? I go, I just hadn't heard it that
Yeah.
way before.
Word. Yeah, said that way.
She goes, oh, did I hurt your feelings? And I was
Said
like,
that hard like that?
oh yeah, like it was like this very like, did I hurt your feelings? I was like,
Not really.
not really, but we're kind of getting there now.
Yeah, but now I'm starting to feel uncomfortable.
And so,
Did you mean to?
and so she's flipping through and like she settles on an image and she wants to get like a 60 by 40 of this unframed, which for me is like profit margins on that are great. And I shit you not, like I just looked at her,
Yeah.
leaned over, closed that up,
Yeah.
pulled it away, and I said, I don't think this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And she was like, why not? And I just said this. It could be very easy. I could have very easily pointed my finger at her and everything. But I was like, I just said, our energies aren't matching here. And I try to do
how it
my
works.
best.
Yeah.
I try to do my best of
That's a
bringing my
good way.
art into matching energies. And like, she was just like,
Like a ghost.
Yeah.
and I just said, I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
And that was early on. This was probably like in 2021. Like
So
I
that was probably scary for you to be like, you know,
I didn't have clientele really
right,
at that
right,
time.
yeah, right. Well, you
But
know,
like, and this
you're-
was like a $2,500. At that time, it was like a $2,500. But like, I walked out of there, and
must
I
have been
just
so
felt
empowering.
so good of
Yeah.
like setting those types of boundaries
Yeah.
of like, I don't have to work for
Yeah.
douchebags or finger pointers or anything like that if I don't want to.
Gaslighters.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you did it early on. You know, that's what's shocking. But you know, you probably knew.
Well, it was early on in that, but like I'd also had enough reps within life of
Yeah.
setting those boundaries with
Yeah.
people.
in your
Right.
career.
So where I had done that plenty within my family and maybe with friends and within relationships, that was really one of my first instances in doing it professionally. So I had other reps in other places with it,
Yeah, of
but doing
course.
it then and
Yeah.
not using you statements, not finger pointing, just keeping it in a way of like, we isn't,
Yeah.
you know, and
Our energy doesn't jive.
Yeah.
You're not my people.
and she was just like,
I'm sure she'd never heard that before.
no.
No.
But you know, you'll see that in the design world. The people I find that say, I don't have an ego. I mean, doesn't everybody kind of have an ego? I know. It's like, I don't have an ego.
Careful.
Okay, everybody has a
your
little
ego's
bit.
showing.
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
worst.
when you say,
Yeah.
I don't have an ego.
And those are the people that don't have an
talking?
ego. They
Yeah.
have, I mean, they have the biggest ego.
Right.
Yeah,
So I
right.
just think designers sometimes get represented as this because they do things like that. Well, you know, like they think they're smarter, or the way she was trying to talk to you, like she knew your genre. I don't know. It's just the way you don't have to say it the way she said it. You know, like what's the deal with that?
Yeah, that's so snotty.
Old
The
motels or broken motels.
They hurt your feelings.
Why,
Like,
why would
what
the
are we on a
hotels be
playground?
broken? That's not even a
Yeah.
normal. I mean, broken
Yeah.
hotel. You mean old hotels or
Yeah.
motels that are around the
Well,
United
she
States?
clearly just didn't understand the subject matter and
Yeah.
the shot and what you were doing with your art.
There wasn't a connection. And
So that's what she's saying.
Nor was there a curiosity to learn more.
Right.
Yeah.
Who is your
Yeah.
favorite photographer? Like, who is your favorite in your genre? Who do you respect? Or and I don't even know. It doesn't have to be somebody I know. But
Yeah, no. For me, this goes back to the music side. A lot of '70s photographers, like Roberta Bailey,
Pretty famous, Roberta Bailey.
Yeah, she followed like the punk
I'm
scene.
gonna look her up.
Right now.
Roberta
Yeah,
Bailey. Okay, sorry.
She followed the punk scene.
Okay.
and,
Oh,
so
that's
like
cool.
followed like the Ramones and
Oh,
Talking
really? So she
Heads
did a lot of
and-
musicians.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So a lot for me is which is interesting. Like a lot of the photographers that I love are like music photographers. So they shoot people.
That's cool. Like the Rolling
Which-
Stone kind of photographers.
Yeah, which isn't me, which isn't what I shoot, but how they're able to capture that energy, I try to do from a standpoint of still, quiet places. And so what they are able to do with their creative canvas, I try to take that same style into Sheridan, Wyoming, and finding the cowboy
For
tucked
sure.
in the entrance
Yeah.
while he's on the phone.
For sure.
Yeah, like
So
I was at the
Quiet.
Victoria, the Queen Victoria Museum in London, and Elton John and his husband had an exhibit that they.
Oh, their photograph exhibit?
Yes.
Oh, I saw
So I
that
went
at the
you
Tate
did?
years ago.
Oh, you did?
The Tate probably, boy, that was probably 9 years ago.
Okay, so
but-
Victoria and Albert, the Victoria and Albert Museum. So I was like, okay, this could be kind of cool, but there was Naomi Campbell's deal was there, the fashion. So that's kind of why I was going. But then I realized, oh my gosh, Elton John and David, I think is his name, were they collected this photography.
oh, it was their collection.
I was
Oh, and their photography collection is-
I was enamored. It was like it done in like how do you say it? It was done in like certain eras
Yeah.
of like would you say current events? You know, you like during the AIDS epidemic, and this photographer took picture. I mean, and then there was the ones in the '60s of the band. I mean, like they have an extensive
yeah.
amount of photography, and it was like up. You'd look up, and it'd be up there on the ceiling. You'd look
Wow.
around. It was just insane, and it was like wallpaper, basically.
Oh, cool.
And I was just couldn't get out of there.
Yeah.
Like just out. And Stephen, I was like, finally, we're getting out. You know, I'm like, well, where'd Stephen go? I mean, I think I got stuck in one little crevice of it, just going, holy mother, like just what's going on,
Yeah.
you know? And he was like, well, I already looked at that and saw it. I'm out. And I was like, okay. I mean, I was just like, how do you go through that? Like some of these photographers were just, I mean, I'm sure they're all
Yeah,
worth
I mean,
it.
but
That
it's-
exhibit's
I think
worth
with any art, you either
millions.
connect with it or you don't. And
Yeah.
sometimes
It's not even if I connected with it. It's just photography is so like in real time, like when they take it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like
Well,
I love it though.
we've recently
Yeah, get Roger.
I've recently seen a couple of other photographers' art and have really looked at it hard and thought about it, and it is interesting how nowadays there are photographers that are shooting set up scenes, and there are photographers shooting something that is only there for a moment, and they caught it. And I appreciate both styles of photography. You know what you do. You'll sit and wait for a shot
Yep.
for
Yep.
24 hours, a week, whatever
the
it
light,
takes.
yeah,
And to get that shot, and you know, all these photographers have different styles, and it's kind of fascinating to me because I feel like photography is a relatively new art. Well, it is a new art.
Really?
And
Kinda said that too.
I don't think a lot of people. I think a lot of photography is evolving, you know, as an art form. I think there's still a lot of people. There's a lot of people that don't understand. They'll look at a painting and they don't get it. Photography, they just glance through it. They don't really think much of it because it's photography.
It's so weird to me though.
But it is-
It's true, but
You have to. I almost feel like to really appreciate all these different forms of art, you have to have someone explain them all to you, either in a course,
Right.
or in at least someone walking you through them and explaining what they are and how the art was done and the technique. But I think there's a lot of art out there these days. I don't think there's a lot of people that understand the art. There's
So
a
they won't
community.
buy-
Well, there's
buy
a
it.
community of artists, and they understand what they're doing, and
Right.
they get what someone else is doing. And I think that's a relatively small group of people. Then there's the general public, and I don't think they'll look at something and either they like it or they don't, and I don't think they can articulate why they like it or they don't like
Right,
it.
that's true.
I think
And
that's
I
I
think
think that's true for me too.
But I
just
think
like
most
it,
people
you know?
don't really understand the art that has gone into it. A lot of people look at art and they say, so what? Why should I pay
Yeah.
$100,000
How long did it
for
take
this
you to
piece
do
of
this?
art?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and
That's how long it
and
takes.
well,
I
but
know, but
also
some
think of it
people
like
ask that.
this:
It's a kind of a
everybody,
giveaway.
everybody can walk around now,
And
they're
have their-
like,
yeah.
they're like, oh,
Yeah.
well,
What I just did.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a camera right here,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
yeah, but you don't know what it took to
Yeah.
drive out 8
Yeah.
hours to this place, knowing how the light was going to be,
Exactly.
waiting for the perfect moment. And yeah, it wasn't the only shot I took because, especially with the digital camera, but I try to shoot with intention of like, if I can get one shot out of that night, holy smokes. And so there's all my years of envisioning what this was going to be, how I look at things, all the energy of me into that photograph that I was explaining earlier, that no one else can produce in that way. Everyone can go shoot Prada Marfa,
Yeah.
and
It's
Well,
new.
and they're not going to shoot it the way I do.
Right.
Well,
that's-
the shot took a second,
Yep.
okay? But to create the shot, create what they're looking at that's great, took 30 years of experiences,
Yep.
of learning, of developing your eye, of
how I
knowledge
look
of the
at it.
camera,
Yeah.
all of that sort
How
of
I
thing.
look at an angle, all of
Yeah.
it. That's not just, oh, cool, snap.
Yeah.
You know?
And when you go on these trips and you don't really, because you don't do any kind of Photoshop really. I mean, you're not in. I mean, like you're looking. Are you looking in your camera? Like, how are you seeing if you got the shot? You don't know till you really get.
I don't know,
Yeah.
which is kind of
That's
beautiful.
That's like old school.
You know, that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. And
Yeah.
that's
I'm
what I'm
like-
saying.
and
it's
I
like,
don't-
it's like being a wedding photographer. You could go to look at your stuff, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
man, my film was,
Yep.
you know, or
Yeah.
like whatever. You
Well, that's
know,
why they
I
take so
screwed
many
it up.
pictures,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, it was like, yeah, you know, if you took a roll of film and
You didn't know what you were gonna
and
get.
if you
It's
got
kinda
3
fun.
photos out of it,
Yeah.
like that was great.
It's
And I
kind of
thought,
fun. Yeah.
you know, I go on a trip,
That's why
you
I
know,
like Polaroids.
so like, you know, I'll go on a 1,700-mile 4-day trip and, you know, shoot 900 images. If I walk away with that with like 3 like kick-ass images,
That's all that matters to you.
that's a success.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot of things within it that I know that are really cool, but those are for me.
Yeah.
Then it's this combination of like, you know, of this kind of moments for me. I don't think this would be real, but then I can see something, you know, the shadow of this old custom cab Chevy truck that the shadow is hitting right perfectly on the door handle and the little insignia there. And it's capturing this blue sky, and I'm like, oh, these lines and symmetry, this is going to look incredible in a 60 by 40.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, and I'm like, oh no, shit, this looks really cool.
But you're the whole time. Are you snapping it, or are you just waiting? Like, you know, are
Both.
You taking, okay.
Sometimes, I mean, there can be sometimes with something that, you know, I will. Sometimes it's taking a lot of shots of it, and because then all of a sudden it's like, oh, let me move 5 inches over this way. That's the shot.
Okay, yeah.
And then
So you're
sometimes,
moving around it.
yeah, and yeah, there's sometimes that, yeah. I mean, I'll if I'm somewhere for a week and I'm like, oh, I need to get back here on Thursday when the light is back. And then there can
Oh,
be sometimes, where, like I was telling you earlier, like yesterday, during the Cinco de Mayo parade outside my building, this ballet group comes in traditional dress, and I'm able to capture these really quick shots of them against the wall, against
Yeah.
this brick wall.
It's real cool.
So, even in a way of like, that's my type of art direction.
Right.
There was no pre-production in it of like, we
yeah.
need to find this person of
Yeah.
like, it's taking what the world is bringing and can I curate something right there on the spot, right then and there.
So, like, you know, with your life and everything else, you're always interchanging, and you've changed throughout your whole life, right? So, like, how do you do that in your genre? Like, what does it look like for you? Like, you kind of like could go any direction, but you have this look that you do, and I wonder if like you will get into something. I mean, how will you know, or is there somewhere you want to go that you're thinking?
Yeah,
Besides,
I mean-
you said Japan, but like,
So,
That'd be cool.
yeah, I mean, Japan would do. We
Yeah.
were talking about that earlier. Would
Right,
just
you could
be
do a whole
the
book
end-all,
on
be-all
that.
Yeah.
of that, because I don't really have a genre. And I shared it earlier.
you don't
about-
think so, really? I mean,
No, I don't.
No,
It's still. I mean, it's
And
still objects. I mean, I'm just trying to think. It's more.
Roger said it best, and I shared it earlier. But Roger said it best.
It's just
and
broken hotels.
It's just broken hotels and stuff.
Parasite cleanse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the worst thing that anybody's ever said to you, right? Would you say? Broken hotels.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or tell her what you were going to say.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Roger said it best, and it's absolutely true. Of you could drop Jarrod anywhere on this planet, and he'd be able to show you a story that you've never seen before.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
a
And-
true artist.
And I took that, and I was like, at first I was like, what? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So from the genre side, I want things to try to be as timeless as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something that's been around for 1,400 years,
It's broken.
you know, one of them broken places
You
that
like
I'll go
them
see.
broken
and,
places.
Man, I'm going to go see some of them
Well, I feel
broken
like you
places.
sort of have a
in
vision.
England.
I mean, there's sort of I wouldn't say genre, but I'd say he has a look. I mean, if I were to walk in somewhere, I could say that's Jarrod's.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, I don't know how you want to word that.
I would make this point. If you go to the world of, art these days, a lot of artists have a subject that they play over and over and over again, and then ultimately that subject becomes stale. And I think as a human being, you can work yourself into a groove so deep you can't get out of it. Well, Jarrod, from day one, I think when we first met Jarrod, he had a series of photos of Paris and another one of New York, and then he had some random ones of California. And I thought to myself, this he's not getting in any kind of groove, because, there will be times that one thing's popular or another, but everybody always loves a story. That's how I think we
That's how we
communicate.
relate, yeah.
That's how we relate
right.
and communicate. And I would say he's perfectly poised to be a commission type photographer. A family says, I want you to come out and capture the story of our ranch, or I want you to capture the story of this
Texas. Remember I
this
told you,
this
hometown?
this place that we love so much. We're going to send you to the Bahamas, to this place that we love, that we want to look at every day in our house. I think he's got the ability to go to these places and see the story and capture it, and if you look at his portfolio, you go, wait a second, these aren't all good cowboy shots. There's Paris in here. There's New York in here. There's
broken
there's a
hair.
bunch of
Yeah.
broken
There's
hotels.
broken
Broken
hotels
shit, yeah.
everywhere.
And
So
I-
much broken
And there are
shit
very
everywhere.
very few artists that
Yeah.
have that kind of
Range,
spread
yeah.
of range of subject matters that that they're not going to be pigeonholed. And that was the first thing that we kind of noticed
Yeah.
about Jarrod. It was kind of funny when we met him. I said, I don't think we have buyers for your Paris shots, but if you could take a trip across the West and shoot stuff that was that people think about when they think about the West,
Had you already been?
I think we could do a show for you. And 10 days later, the guy had driven across America and came back with a portfolio of photos of the
Yeah.
American West, and it was
Yeah, and
pretty
they're cool.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was pulling up a photo of
fine.
going into it of there was this place on the PCH called the Topanga Ranch Motel. And
I've seen that shot.
it's next to it was next to this seafood shack called the Real Inn.
Yeah.
And it was one of my favorite places in LA. So when I'd go out there, no matter where I was in Southern California, I was like, I want to go eat there. And I loved this building. And it's one of the pieces I brought back. And Jackie proceeded to tell me how that was one of her favorite restaurants on this planet.
Yeah.
And how they used to go hiking directly behind that.
Yeah.
Good food.
Yeah. Yeah, like great fish tacos.
Yeah,
and,
well-
Yeah, I mean
And,
your
and
classic
it's-
surf shack.
Yeah,
I mean,
total
Love
surf
it.
shack. Yeah.
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 Love
Well, and even more important now, it's gone.
Yeah.
It tore
It's
down.
gone.
Oh, for the fires.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gone.
it's
It
gone.
is absolutely wiped out.
So
Yeah.
he captured a
You got
piece
it.
of culture out there.
Well, Yeah.
that is gone and will never be replaced.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And the
That's
thing
book,
that,
that's why I take you
yeah,
a book.
and the thing that I knew about that hotel, what just by being from that area, was that it originally was the housing for the workers building the Pacific
Yep.
Coast Highway. So those were originally little worker
Yep.
houses for all the workers building the Pacific Coast Highway, which is a whole nother story about this woman, May Rin. She was fighting PCH being built through all the
All her
ranches
land,
out
her
there.
ranch that
Mhm.
she-
Yeah, and that place is just like, I just can't even I never saw it open as a motel. It was just like, what is this place? And my kids thought it was cool. There was this allure to like
Yeah.
sneak around, and you always parked in front of it to get to
How
the
far
real
was
end.
it for your house? Or you just hiked around that area?
Well, there are trails back there,
Oh, yeah.
but it was between Pacific Palisades and
Malibu.
the Getty.
Yeah.
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 Right
yeah.
on the edge of Malibu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
So it
I
was a
had
mile
a
from her
house up
house.
near the Getty. So, it was just, I was there every Tuesday night.
And and I don't go around capturing things. I'm not one of those people like I go to capture so what may be forgotten will never be forgotten
Oh,
and everything.
yeah.
But there's
It's
something that many times
Yeah.
it's happened with many things. And there was this beautiful theater out in Brownfield, Texas, the booming metropolis of Brownfield.
I don't
south
even know
of,
where
like,
that
Lubbock.
is. Oh, okay.
This it's called the Rialto, and it was built in 1922. And my vice principal in high school, when she saw the photo, her mom worked at this theater and her dad lived in the city. That's where they met. He would come into town on the weekends to see movies, and that's where they met. This beautiful old patina marquee that shows like the story of the Texas South Plains, of like cotton picking and everything, of just like this really incredible. And someone renovated it, and then they redid the marquee.
Yeah.
And now it is
Doesn't look
like
good.
this.
Yeah.
Because we live in the world of like, you know what? We're on Instagram and
Yeah.
we need one of them cool Instagram murals up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
This is going to look really great. And it's like this shitty Starry Nights, like
Starry
swirly
little,
night.
Yeah.
little dot. I'm like, this really depicts the life out here. But of
Yeah.
like, I know I had one of the last photos of what it looked like from its original state. And that's something that you can't replace
No.
in that way.
And they don't. They're trying to do that. Like there's a lot of.
Story.
Yeah. Well, you went to the El Rey. Remember that little motor?
Oh,
inn?
yeah. We went to the El Rey.
Yeah, and it was awesome, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
we walked
In
around
Albuquerque?
it.
no,
yeah.
no, it's in Santa
Santa
Fe.
Oh,
Fe.
in Santa Fe, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and we started walking around like the the outside area, and I was like, did we just walk in? Is this like another motor court that
Was it?
seemed
bought
they
it.
bought the motor court next door?
Oh, and they're redoing the one on the left.
yes,
Yeah, that's the one that if you face
yeah,
it.
and
Oh,
then,
they are?
And immediately I was like, what is the deal with this
Gosh,
place?
I wish
and like what
we should redo the one down on Camp Bowie, but that's so scary down there. I don't know if Dallas has any. Like we
There's
still
3 or
have a
4
few.
down there, yeah.
We still have
the,
a few.
The Lariat down that way.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's 3 or 4, but it's scary.
But I
scary.
mean, that sign that's out in front of the Lariat is just like 5-star masterpiece, mid-century modern,
Yeah.
true Americana signage that just, you don't see them anymore because so many people take
'em off.
those and put them in their private collections.
yeah.
Take the what? Take the.
Take the
signs.
signs.
Oh, so those are very expensive to buy. Like,
They're starting to be
Well,
like,
Yeah.
I mean,
neon signs are expensive to build because first you have to design them, okay? You have to hire an artist
Right.
to design them.
Yeah.
Then you have to build the box. Then you have to light it. You got to get the electricity in it, and then you have to do the neon. So it requires, 3, 4, 5 different craftsmen to kind of design those things, and subsequent, you've tried to do one today.
So
It's
much money.
$50,000 to $100,000
Yeah.
for just a simple sign.
the big ones. You're talking about the big.
Any size.
Anything.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Roger, because it makes me think of signage. Your store has the Caravan of Dreams sign.
Right.
I don't think I've ever gone in there and asked you how you got that sign.
that was the
great-
first thing I
and-
noticed
and
that
This is
I,
the great story.
Because I used to
Yeah.
go there all the time, and that's why I'm
Okay,
wondering.
so I think to understand that sign and why it's in there, you have to understand our
Sparking.
ethos.
Oh,
would it
yeah,
be,
yeah.
That we I think Jackie and I both, I think we have an eye for um, objects, buildings, things that have a value that is, had a value greater before than it is now, and they've faded, what do you call it, faded elegance?
Like faded elegance. I have a
And-
soft spot for things that are neglected.
And we
as
have an
well.
eye for
We know
how
that.
to
I know.
revive those,
Impact.
those things. So, if you go to our store, we have, you know,
Yeah.
hats that have been rebuilt, that we buy them, they're nasty, dirty, they're old, beat up, and we rebuild them, we rebuild buckles, we rebuild clothing. But my career has been, for the last 25 years, has been the rebuilding of old buildings.
I know, that's what I love
So,
about it.
so
Really makes
that
sense.
sign came across our radar early on when we were dating, when I was sparking her.
me. Yeah.
That's a nice
I
way to
took-
put it.
That's what he calls it. Sparking.
Sparking. Well, he's
I-
kind of that guy that says cool
Old
words.
tiny
I like it.
I took Jackie.
Okie dokie.
I took Jackie.
Yeah, supper's at 4.
Yeah, I took Jackie on a waltz across Texas that included me delivering hats to an assortment of characters. This
In
is
Austin.
And you met 'em.
This is about
Oh, yeah.
9 years ago, and one of those characters was Joe Ely. And Joe, we had made 2 hats for Joe Ely. This was a time when I was making hats for a lot of musicians, celebrities, actors, you name it, just to raise the awareness of this hobby I had. And
See, hobby.
and Joe
Hobby turns into careers.
Joe had me ask me if I would deliver the hat to his house. So, dragging Jackie along, I'm not really sure she knew who Joe Ely was, but we go to this house, and it is completely surrounded by the city of Austin, and this guy's got like 200 acres on the south side of Austin,
Wow, I didn't
completely
know that.
surrounded. And we get there and we meet with him and we give him the hats and we chat, and he asks us if we would like a tour of his,
Property.
essentially
Yeah.
his property, his compound. And he's got multiple buildings. He's got his main house, a guest house, a storage building, and he's got his recording studio.
Which I love. I'd love to sit in on
So as he is chatting with us and we're going from building to building, he started talking about his relationship with Stubbs Barbecue, or
that. Oh, yeah, cool.
Stubbefield, and we're walking across this meadow and to his recording studio, and there's this Cadillac parked out in front with the name Stubbs on the door, and he points it out, we start talking, and I'm staring at the car, and I trip over something on the ground, and I look down, and it's the Caravan of Dreams sign.
In like 3 pieces. Like
It's
just
all
out
apart.
in the-
And what had happened is when they tore down, when they gutted the building that was the Caravan of Dreams to build Riata, the restaurant,
Yeah.
they took everything out of there and they threw it in a dumpster.
The old sign?
Yes.
Oh,
And there was two.
All of that
there were
stuff.
two
Yeah.
signs.
crazy.
There was a sign on the outside of the building, and there was a sign above the stage. And the sign that was outside the building, that went right into the dumpster. And as the second sign came out, one of the demo contractors, who was a
Joe
big
Ely fan.
a big Joe
Yeah.
Ely fan, but was also a big fan of Caravan of Dreams. He took it upon himself to take that sign, put it in the back of his truck, and deliver it to Joe Ely because he claimed Joe Ely had performed in Caravan of Dreams.
I was gonna
more
say,
than
had
any
he?
o- more than any other
I-
artist.
I think I
I've
saw him
heard
there.
some
Yeah.
stats that he
So-
performed there a
Oh,
lot.
yeah,
So
he did.
he delivered that sign. He was a Joe Ely groupie. He delivered that sign down to Joe Ely in Austin. Joe received the
That's so
sign
cool.
probably very, very politely, and thanked the guy, I'm sure, profusely. And after he got the sign, he had no place to put it.
Well, he lives in a 1-level ranch house. Like, this sign is huge. It's in 3 pieces. There would be no
We
place.
didn't have
Did you
any-
have a place for it, but you wanted it? or-
No, so I didn't
We
have.
take a lot of things we
So
don't
we
have room
didn't
for.
Figure
we
this
didn't
out.
have
Yeah,
a place
we'll-
to put
we'll
in the
work it
house
out.
we were living in, but I thought someday we'll have a house that has a big wall and we'll put
house,
this
yeah.
thing up.
Yeah.
It's in your store.
So when the store came up, I thought, well, this is the place to put the sign. So
It had been in his garage for 4 years. I
Yeah, it had
believe.
been in the garage for 4 years, and the
We
the
busted
sign
a few
had
tubes are on our own.
the sign had
Yeah.
had some damage, and
Yeah.
so when I decided to put it in the store, I called a sign company that does all the signage for all our shopping centers, had them come pick it up.
That's smart.
And I said to the sign guys, "Hey, I will get back to you with. I'm going to try to track down photographs of this sign so you know how to fix the parts of the sign that are broken." And I didn't think anything of it. We gave them the sign, they left, and 3 weeks later, the sign company called me up and said, "Hey, your sign's finished." And I thought, my first reaction was that I was mad. I thought, these guys have
Messed it up.
messed
Oh,
it
yeah.
up by just fixing it
Taping it.
some cheap
Because
way.
it took 3
Put the
weeks.
tubes
You thinking it was going to
together.
take
Well,
months?
and I
yeah.
didn't, and I was certain that they did not know
They
the
didn't do the
exact
tubing
details.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. So I was ready to just,
Hammer 'em.
yeah. And they show up with a sign, and they put it on the wall, and I'm sitting back, and I'm looking at that sign going, they fixed it perfectly. And I said to the guy doing the installation, I said, I just have to ask you, how did you know what to do with like the neon tubing? Pulls out of his pocket a Polaroid of the sign, the original
Original.
sign. I said, where did you get that? He says, we built the original sign.
The Fort Worth Sign Company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Now, what
welcome
are
to.
the odds?
Well-
what are the
Fort Worth,
odds?
yeah.
Well, it's
of
kind of
us
cool because you got
selecting-
to.
Hold on a second. What are the odds of us selecting the one sign
Okay,
company?
now it's getting
There are
spicy.
dozens of sign companies in Dallas and Fort Worth, selecting the one sign company that was the sign company that made that sign, and they would still have the Polaroid of the original sign.
Yeah.
So
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Just fascinating, Roger.
Yes.
He just cuts me off like a.
Well, the other part about that waltz across Texas was when we met
Bob Wade.
Bob Wade,
Oh, Bob Wade, the artist.
the artist. And so, because
I didn't know that.
we went to see Bob Wade after Joe Ely, maybe, or before?
Yeah, right after.
Okay.
Well, I had talked to Bob ahead of time, but Bob was an old friend of mine. We have a very large piece that he did for me years ago, and I was wanting to do a project with Bob. I have a couple things I wanted to work on with him, and I wanted to introduce him to her since we were in Austin, and
Waltzing.
We were
Waltzing all
We
over
were
Texas.
Waltzing and
and-
sparking.
and
yeah.
and I wanted to go by and see him and talk to him about this sign and
Yeah.
whatnot, and so that was another little adventure.
But
we
I
had.
want to tell the story that Bob told me, which circles back to PCH. He said, "Oh, you live in Malibu. Is that what was the taco place?"
In Malibu?
It was a taco
Yes.
place, but it was also a pizza place.
Right. So there was this taco place on PCH, and Bob Wade made the salsa.
No,
La
no, no,
salsa.
no, hold
It
on.
was La Salsa.
La Salsa.
Hold just a second. He made the La Salsa man, and it was this
Oh.
giant figure standing on top of this like taco stand. And he said, "Is he still there?" And I said, "Yeah, he's still there. I love La Salsa." And every once in a while, I would get a text, not really putting his name to that number, and he would just say, "Is he still there?" Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yep.
But the
Oh, so
story
cool.
about La Salsa Man is so fascinating because he originally was
A tire shop. A tire shop.
No, he was like
and a
a-
pizza place.
he was like he was like a burger guy. So he had reinvented this man
Oh,
to
you're
go
right.
from a burger
Burger to a
joint
pizza.
to a
taco.
to a taco man. And so the platter that he's holding the tacos used to be the bun. It
No, the
used-
bun
the-
is
to be
now
the hamburger
the
bun.
bun
Yeah, it was
is the Mexican sombrero.
there I have to look at it, but he was like, and then to make the hirachis, he went down like somewhere in LA and got like tire treads and
That's right.
matched, and then the paint he matched to like Hispanic man somewhere. I mean, he literally was like matching
the
skin
color
tone.
scheme.
Yeah.
Oh God,
and
that's what
to turn this
it looked kind of dark.
To turn this like Caucasian hamburger guy into this, Mexican.
He's pretty tan right
No,
there.
and so the
the
paint.
sun.
He tells the story, and it is so funny. And to this day, now actually, I don't know if it's still there after the fires. But
You don't know if the guys. Okay.
the La Salsa had closed, and
Yeah, it's
so
been closed for a while.
It's been closed for a while, and he's like, I'm trying to get this thing back to Texas.
To who?
The La Salsa man.
I know. How's he going to
Well,
do?
whoever owns the building.
Well, he was going to get somebody, whoever
he-
had the building, to give it to him.
Yeah, he
would
tried
go out there,
making
pick it up,
calls
put it on a
and-
flatbed,
Yeah.
and bring it back.
Just like he did with the lizard at
Yeah,
the zoo.
just like he did with
gosh.
the
Oh,
iguana
right.
at the zoo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That
And
iguana,
that was
at
That
the
actually-
iguana's
zoo,
huge.
That thing started out its life at Woodstock.
Yeah.
Like Woodstock.
Woodstock.
Like
Yeah.
That
Woodstock.
the
Yes.
Fort Worth Zoo
Well,
iguana.
so here's the thing. Woodstock, before the concert, was an art festival, and he
So like
made
Burning Man.
yeah, and he made this giant iguana to go up there. So he gets it up there, and several months later, after the concert and everything is done, he gets a phone call. Hey, come get your lizard before we take a chainsaw to it.
It's like some
So
farmer.
he goes. So on his way up there, he's got a couple of guys with him to pick it up, and they are brainstorming, and they realize they have a friend from Texas who has a Mexican restaurant in Manhattan, and they talk this guy into putting this iguana on the roof of their building in Manhattan, and it stayed there.
So it never made it back to Texas.
No.
How heavy
So
is
it's-
this thing?
It's who knows.
It comes in.
but
It was like a flatbed. I mean,
it sat there for 20 years, and then some other friend of his ended up getting it and taking it to his farm in Virginia, or some business in Virginia. And so finally that guy said, hey, come get your iguana, because no one had bought the iguana. So
like
he
a hot
finally,
potato.
he's on his way up to get the iguana in
know the iguana
Virginia.
on the zoo?
Oh, yeah.
He
Oh, yeah.
calls
Oh, no, I'm
his
just checking
his
it out.
number
It's
one
crazy.
patron, which is the Basses, and says, hey, you guys need an iguana? And Ramona Bass said, well, in fact, we're getting ready to raise money for the reptile exhibit at the zoo. It would be perfect,
yeah.
but you have to paint it the realistic
Yeah.
colors
It was like
of
psychedelic.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was.
So he
like
did
a
it, and
if you're
she
gonna have
bought
an
it.
iguana
She paid for it, and it
Woodstock.
went on the
It's
zoo.
not going to be natural looking.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be.
And so, full circle,
Trippy.
so what I was going to see Bob for, I have a stuffed iguana. And I was going to see him to see
lot
if
of
he
weird
would
taxidermy in
paint
our
my
store.
stuffed iguana and put it on a plaque and turn it into a small piece of art.
And
We never got that done.
Then he died.
thank
Yeah.
God.
And I've been
Thank
hunting
the
for an
Lord.
artist. I've been hunting for an artist that will paint my iguana ever since then.
Can you paint?
He's
Me
a
neither.
photographer.
Well, I know what he does.
The cool thing that all of this is gathered around
Yeah.
is like, if you're paying attention,
Yeah.
these things exist.
Yeah.
It just so happens we're raising money for the reptile place.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
walking through, I trip over this.
Yeah.
Anyone else that would have tripped over that would have just been like, what is this?
What
hunky
is
junk?"
that?
Yeah. What
Yep.
are, what are,
But you were
we're
meant
like
to
Sanford
trip.
and Son.
You were meant to trip over
Yeah.
that because you were the purveyor to
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
waiting for you.
That, Yeah,
Yes.
that was not luck.
was waiting
We were
for you.
talking about that earlier.
So that leads me into this other thing, and that is
Here we go. What is it?
Listen up,
you.
Everybody
you,
pay attention. He'll cut you off.
Some people go through life and they miss everything.
kids. Yeah.
Other people go through life and they see the signs, they see the opportunities, they see the joy of something, they see the shot, okay, because they're present and they're observing and their mind is focused. And I think that also goes for relationships. If you're creative and you're positive and you care about other people, then you create, in a store, you create that environment and it attracts interesting people
Yeah.
to your store. And when you attract people to your store, other people who come to shop in the store or look in the store, they feel that energy.
It's
And
totally.
this is what
yeah.
happens in our stores.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when Jarrod comes to the store, we probably sell more stuff than when he's not in the store. these things happen all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
Activity in a store creates sales.
Oh, totally.
And so the same thing happens with art. There's a the Bowie House has art, okay?
Yeah.
They have art in a living setting. They have art in a very low pressure sales environment.
True.
You go in there and you enjoy the art, and then you find out you can buy the art. You don't go in there and it's like, okay, this is so and so's art, and you got to buy it tonight.
And it's on a stark white wall
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
nothing else
Like the
living
galleries
within it.
are, yeah.
And you got to imagine what that artwork's going to be like in your house, and you got someone breathing down your neck to sell it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's true. That's a pressure cooker
That's
right
a whole different kind of environment, and I think that environment is unique. I think that environment is. I don't know of too many other places that has existed in before, and it is the evolution of selling art.
And it's definitely trying to be replicated now.
Oh yeah, they've got everybody's.
We've been very successful in selling art in our store. Why? Because people don't go in there to buy art. They come in to buy clothes. And the clothes vibe with the artwork that we've sold in the store.
Well, you've created a lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's not just clothes. People get immersed, and that's when the things attract. They may come in thinking of like, oh, I've heard of these cool hats. But then it is that seeped in, and it's the energy of the people that you bring in,
Yeah.
and it's the people that you collaborate with. It's the people whose clothes that you bring in that are of like-minded, that, and y'all have had in the same vein, y'all brought in some people I know that have been like, whoa,
Yeah.
energy, no thanks. But you don't know until you try.
Yeah.
Yep.
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 And so, but to kind of, as you keep working on that formula
evolution.
to it, like,
Yes.
it hones in for sure.
Yeah.
Well, if you're focused on providing a happy, positive
Yeah.
environment that represents your vibe and represents the products you have in it, and you never quit trying to improve on that space. That's
Yeah.
the key. You want to continually
We have to
improve
change
on
the
it.
space. That's retail.
Yeah, you have
I
to
mean-
evolve the space. If you do that, there's a certain energy to that as well. Customers come in and the store's different, and they go, "What? Wow, what did you do to the store?" And deep down inside their mind, they're thinking to themselves, they can't articulate this, but what comes in their brain is, these people really respect my business. And in doing so, they keep making their store better and better and
Evolving.
better.
Yep.
And they're not just living off their laurels of a store they built 10 years ago. They're saying to me, they're in that guy's brain, they're saying they care enough about me that they want to create an environment that is relaxing and enjoyable and positive, and it represents their goods that I love. And so that's the other thing we bring to our store, and that's the other thing that artwork does to an environment. And especially an environment like Bowie House, where they're changing it all the time, right?
Yeah, they do.
You go in there because I want to see what new artwork's in there, right?
It's like being in a museum, but it's different. I mean, there's a party atmosphere.
It's
fun.
livable. Yeah, no.
It's like
fun.
a social club, actually.
Yeah.
That you don't have to like
You don't have to
charge
pay
to
for
go.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's actually kind of turned into that. You are. I just want everybody to know that you guys are the owners of Chieffalo Americana. I don't know if that ever got mentioned, but I want to make sure that we put a toad out to you guys. If anybody needs a kick-ass American-made anything, as far as like style, and I mean cool vibe style, these are your people.
Absolutely.
They understand it. They understand American brands. Roger, I have one of Roger's hats. I mean, I want like 3 or 4 more, but
He has
I got
a
to
very
start making more
kick-ass
money.
that camera one.
Is his
Yeah.
better than mine?
Well, I think you came in the store and you wanted a certain hat, and you couldn't pull the trigger,
You can
and
never
the
pull
next
the
day
trigger.
he came in and bought
Yeah.
it.
That son of a bitch. You got the.
We don't have the same head size.
We don't know that.
He's just jacking with
Okay,
you.
mine was kind of a maroony color. Remember that burgundy one I wanted? And I knew I've got
No, it
a.
was a green hat.
Oh yeah,
was
well,
green.
yes. Give me
You look
another
good in
money
green.
hat. Give me
Yes.
another money
Yeah.
hat.
This one in green.
Mine's
Yeah.
cool though.
No.
Is that an
He
old
got a
Roger?
hat. He
Is
bought
that
a
one
hat that is.
No,
I
this
don't think
one's
we've ever
new.
had. I think we've had two hats the color that you
Yeah.
bought. It's kind of a mustard, like a dirty mustard.
Yeah.
Oh, you
yellow.
got the dirty
The
mustard hat?
yellow camel.
Yeah, it's like a
with
chain.
That's
little
I wanted
ridges.
one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
too.
Those are all the hats are one of a kind because, number one, whatever color they originally were made, they've been worn for 50, 60 years. And then we get them and we power wash them, and that changes the color.
Yeah.
And so by the time they're rebuilt, they have a color that
But Kelly, you
Doesn't
see an
exist.
unusual color like that, you got to pull the trigger
you
because
got to jump on it.
Yeah.
You know what I
These-
love about you guys? Y'all don't pressure sell
No.
me,
Yeah.
which sucks because you need to. I'm gonna be
that
honest
was
with
my
you,
first attempt.
because that one really
Shredded.
has given me the
Like
grief.
nightmares.
Like it was
Yeah.
the perfect like rusty. Remember it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I got a good one. I mean, mine's fine, but I'm gonna get another one if
I
I
hope
can.
you guys buy many of them.
Well, I hope so too. But like, you think you think he's going to be crazy to take his hat all over Europe? And what if somebody snags it? Steven's worried about taking his.
Who's going to snag it if it's sitting on your head?
But what if he falls asleep on the train, and then someone takes it?
He keeps it in his lap.
Oh, Steven, we always put it up above in the
Oh,
airport.
that's
You
when it
know,
gets
we
forgotten.
we did have
the train.
we
Yeah.
recently
No,
did
seriously.
have a client that was he had owned one of our hats for like 14 years. It was a straw hat, and he was the guy that originally got me to make straw hats. And that hat that he had been all over the world. I mean, it had been to China.
See?
It had been fly fishing in Idaho. It had been to music festivals all over the United States. It had been to his house in Italy. It had been to sporting events in Europe. And he was on his way to a 2-week hike through the Swiss Alps.
Yeah.
And he left it on the train.
No, I know. That's horrible.
And we had to replace it.
Oh,
Yeah.
the hat that was traveled all over.
Yeah.
The
Yes. Yes.
The,
Maybe it
the
continues.
roads less traveled. Is that the name of the book? Take the road less traveled, and that's what you do. I think you take those roads that are kind of traveled less
What was the
than
name
the
of the
average
theme
person.
of the
yeah.
of the series you did with us?
You've been everywhere but here.
I
Right.
love that one.
Oh yeah.
That's
And
genius.
and that's my
genius.
trademark. That's
Yeah.
because my clients have another home somewhere. They've traveled the world, and yet when they see an image, they're like, "Where was this taken?" And for me, it's not. That's the story. It's where it was, what I was listening to, what the weather was like that day. It allows them into this very small snippet of life of mine that's able to capture something like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
So,
But don't you think that they look at the piece and they go, if they're well traveled, they look at it and they go, I feel like I've been there.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been to this place, but they don't know where it is.
and then you tell them the place, and they're like, "Oh,
Oh,
no,
that-
no."
Never been there.
No.
Yeah,
You
I've
went
never
to
been
Erect.
Never been to
Yeah.
Texas. Never been to
Yeah.
West Texas.
I have this full collection that I haven't done anything with, and it's between here and Aspen. That I spent. I'm probably the only person.
Road less traveled to Aspen.
I'm probably the only person that did a 12-day road trip to Aspen and spent 8 hours in Aspen because I shot everything in between.
Yeah, of course.
Because I knew that I have many clients that live here that have places there.
Yeah.
And most people fly straight in or drive straight through, and they miss all these little stories in between. And so it coincided with me losing my youngest stepbrother like the second day on this trip.
Yeah, I remember
And so
this.
it just, the whole vibe of that trip kind of changed. And so I've used some images out of that trip, but there's
When
still
did you
something
do
there.
that?
This was in 2023.
Yeah.
What was that called? That show?
I haven't,
you haven't done it
anything
yet.
Yeah,
with
that's
So you haven't used it. Do you like what you captured? Or
There's just a
you
couple of
must-
things in there, and then there's some that's like, there's a lot of things that, like I told you, that like I shoot for me.
Yeah.
And that I see something, I'm like, oh, a client would like this, and I'm just like, I don't know if there's anything in there that's for anyone, and there could be, but like,
You haven't gone back to it just for.
I've gone back to it, and it's just like, you know what, it's not ready to show
Yeah.
itself. what
Yeah.
needs to.
Interesting,
There's
okay.
been a couple of pieces out of it that I have that were a little more commercially, that were like, I took a photo of like this Louis Vuitton saddle, but I shot
Oh,
it
I saw
super
that,
close. But
right?
it's like,
I've seen that.
showing a saddle without showing a saddle, but with all this Louis Vuitton. And like that, I shot that because I was like, oh, Dallas is going to eat this shit up. So there wasn't like this personal connect, as opposed to, driving into these small mountain towns and finding places while I'm trying to process and grieve,
Yeah.
the loss of my youngest brother, and still trying to be present with where I'm at. So the duality of, can I feel this while also being present to see all around.
Is it the same trip where your car broke down?
And that's the same
Sorry.
trip where my car broke
Yeah.
down about 70 miles outside of Pueblo.
Right.
That
Damn, yeah, that was a
This
rough
is
trip.
like right after I met you.
I'm surprised
It
you
was-
didn't go back.
It was-
I have a question I've always wanted to ask you, and you kind of led into that and then you diverted. Do you ever see a shot and you look at it and say, I can sell that shot to Chevrolet, I can sell that shot to, whoever, Amazon, I can sell that shot to some big commercial thing. It's kind of like country western singers making a song that
Yep.
ends up being, used
True.
commercially.
There
Yeah.
are, I haven't thought in the style. It's always been more of an entity of a subset, like, oh, designers in Nashville will eat this up.
Right.
So it's been a little more like it in the same vein, but it
Yeah.
would be interesting from that side of opening that thought process to bigger things.
You're right.
Of, with the Professional Bull Riding Association, how would they think of this?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely sometimes I see something that maybe not in the grand scale of Chevrolet, but I see the back end of a 1970s Mercedes off Robertson Boulevard in West Hollywood, and I'm like, oh, there is a subset of people in Dallas that would kill for this LA lifestyle
Right.
without it being too cheeky, of still bringing that ethos in without bringing in, But then again, I shoot the Beverly Hills Hotel sign because that's
Yeah, but can't you like the Louis Vuitton? Wouldn't that be a cool shot to actually sell to Louis Vuitton?
could be.
I mean,
they
think
know that?
think about that. Like,
Well,
Well, do they know
like,
it's out there?
I don't know.
I mean, so
Rochambeau
that's why I
range or
said to
whatever?
you
Yeah.
earlier. I'm
Oh, yeah.
thinking, artist. It's hard to be an artist and represent yourself. So if you had like a Roger
Well-
or a Kelly or a Jackie, whatever, that represented you, and they called Louis Vuitton, you need this shot in your showroom on Beverly Hills Drive. I
Well,
mean, come on.
And I think
Or Rodeo Drive,
a lot
I mean,
of artists that
right?
I've talked to, they feel cheap to do that.
That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't
It's
do
almost
it.
Well-
as if you have to almost have a paparazzi mentality.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
that's also time as well of building those relationships.
Yeah.
And I've come to understand the best leverage of my time is the creative, is the front facing, and the closing. The prospecting side is in and of itself a full time. And so where I have done a good job of knowing how to source the clientele that I have built in a short time period, there's definitely that side of attracting that style.
Right.
But like, for me, it's one where is the time? There's an understanding of it, and
Yeah.
I've been building that in a really good organic way. And part of this year is looking from an expansion into different showrooms around the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my
of
head
having
went.
15 other places, 15 other buoy houses
Yeah.
to sell, so that I can then concentrate on the commission pieces.
Well,
Yeah,
earlier
it's
you had
brilliant.
mentioned that, and the first thing I thought of was, in light of, when we first met and you had the Paris and the New York shots, I thought to myself, well, if you were in a Bowie House type hotel, say in Charleston, South Carolina,
right,
you would have stuff that was more regional
100%.
Yeah.
and more of a that would be attractive to those people.
Working with a
That's perfect.
decor
Yeah.
showroom in Rochester, Michigan right now, north of Detroit. Fantastic community and everything.
Those
And
buildings.
I showed them just a couple of shots that I took in Detroit last year, and they were like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
can you do more?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I can, and I'm more than happy to come there and shoot exclusively content
Yeah.
for you,
Right.
for you to sell in that way of showing Detroit
Right.
without it being the cheeky Detroit stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's cool.
Yeah. Well, they have some beautiful.
There's a lot of artists that can't do
buildings.
that.
No, you're right.
Going back
there's-
to our original.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists, and I can understand too of like finding one thing, and especially if you're really profitable at it, like
And just doing it over and over.
sure.
Like, give me an
that-
example.
That makes total sense. I mean, there's countless artists out there that
They
do
do
it
it.
that vein,
I mean, they make money. I mean,
and they do. For me, like the idea of just doing Western sounds boring because part of it is the curiosity.
I
and
kind of
finding
agree with
something
you.
New.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, it's like, can I show Western without it being, your traditional Western?
Because you see artists that do the same, and everybody. This is where it gets tricky, in my opinion. You walk into everybody's house and you see like a local artist that's very good, and we all know who they are, and they're great. They're fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're going in everybody's house, and everybody
Yeah.
has a piece of that
And the colors might
art,
be a little different.
and they might be a little different, and like some people just don't, be great if they could just venture out, like you've kind of done it here, so go. I don't know how you do that as an artist, but I
Well-
think you have to, because walking in everybody's dining room and everybody having the same shot but in a different color is
That's the beauty of being all over the country and having a little
I
bit
agree.
here and a little bit
Yeah.
here.
that's what you do. I mean, that's the
We
spread it
could
out.
walk into 5 homes here, and there's 5 totally different images
That's-
within your neighborhood.
Right.
There is the Topanga shot in yours.
Yep.
There is this sign that's shot with bullet holes that says, "Where are you going to spend eternity, heaven
Yeah,
or hell?"
I love that one.
That's in another.
See, I
that's in
love
a-
that.
That's in a house around the corner from y'all. Down the street, down Camp Bowie, is an old abandoned Bell's department store on an acrylic, and so 2 of those aren't even shown on my website. So,
Yeah.
and you would never know that they were by the same artist.
And when and that's what's nice about your art. That's what I'm saying. It's like you go into it, you can just tell it's yours, but it's like the images are so different.
Yeah.
Like
But the feel,
it's the
Yeah.
same. You have a
the same.
flow. There's definitely something,
For sure.
Yeah.
that you can tell it's your art.
for sure.
But I do think that's interesting, because a lot of the interior designers, do you think that a lot of them match the space with your art? Or do you think that the people that are buying it actually buy it because they love it and they fit it into the space?
It's both.
Yeah.
It's definitely both.
Okay, good. 'Cause, I mean,
Sometimes,
like,
yeah,
you buy what
sometimes
you
it can
love.
be, and that for me in my world, like everything is custom. Is we can customize the
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
If it's color, you want to go grayscale, fantastic. If they just want to buy it unframed because you love this framer that you use,
Yeah.
wonderful. If you need to change this tone of blue to match within certain things, fantastic. Because I look at this, it is a fine art photography business, and if I'm not giving you something that you absolutely love, I'm not in the world for you to just settle on something.
Yeah.
And to circle back to what we talked about at the very beginning, that it's just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, fine's not good.
No, fine.
Fine means something's fucked up.
and insecure
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
neurotic.
Yeah.
Well, and you want I think we have this issue also. You have a product that is you,
Yes.
and you're going to cram that you down the throat of those customers. Or you have a customer that says, I like your style, but I want it this way. And there's artists that just get worked up about that. There are clothing designers that get worked up over something like that.
I've heard.
But we're all in the business of selling something, and I think that if you can accommodate the customer,
If I'm not listening to what the customer is saying,
Yeah.
then I need to really be paying attention of, is this for me or am I doing this for others?
Yeah, that's
That's
Can
where
I
the
bring both
ego
of
that
those?
is
comes
well
in.
said. Exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
Because the
And can I bring
customer
both
buy
of
it.
those? And can I bring both? Can I still bring me, which I
Yeah.
do, while also being
Serving
in this
them.
vein of like, yeah, I'm not married to this blue. I just thought it was a kick-ass hue
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
put
I
it together.
mean, like, yeah.
Just as long as they don't say, "What's with the broken down?"
Yeah, what's wrong with that broken hotel, motel?
broken motels, y'all.
Yeah.
No, that's like those are those little words that everybody, that's part of being out there in the real world that you got to just get over. Like who cares?
Yeah.
right? It's hard. It's like, whatever. I mean, like, so like, what are you grateful for in your business the most? I did ask Jarrod that question. Like, Roger, what is the one thing every day you're very grateful for about stepping out of that fear zone and starting another career or doing Chieffalo Americana?
I don't really approach things from a fear standpoint. I look at things, and I look at life as you want to do something. There are obstacles to doing it.
Sure.
And
A lot of people get fearful. They can't do it.
And for me, there was a point in time in my life that I realized that I didn't have to do everything myself. If you can surround yourself with other people who have skills that you don't have, you can get a lot of things done. Well, for me, in opening up this new business, I realized that I had this woman that I wanted to be a partner with in life, and it sounds kind of corny and goofy, but we're also damn good partners in our store.
You just get one
And I think that when I wake up every day, I realize that if I don't know how to do something, she probably does, and I can just go about doing the things that I like to do for that store, and so that's my approach. It's not a fear. It's just like, what are our challenges? And we talk about them every morning. What do we need to tackle today? What do we need to tackle
But you
this
realize
month?
that
What do
when
we need to tackle this year?
entrepreneurs are kind of like they're not the people that, I mean, they conquer the fear. Okay?
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that go to the same job every single day that they do not like, they do not love, they literally hate it.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that are living in fear. I mean, that's a fact. Okay? So fear is the word you would use for that. You don't walk in fear
Hold on
because
a
you're an
second.
entrepreneur.
No, this is what I would use. I wouldn't use the word fear. We all have obstacles to doing something, okay? But if at a very early age you do something that you didn't think you could do, or you do something that maybe at that point you were fearful of failing or what have you.
Failure.
If you can get over that at an early age and you do it over and over again, you build what I call a non-fear muscle. Okay?
I agree with that.
Now, as adults, by the time you become an adult, you have developed essentially skill sets that are your muscles. And if one of those muscles is to not worry about, the fear of doing something new, if you've developed a muscle that enables you to take on new things,
Right.
then your whole orientation, your whole view of the world's different. And I say that at some point there's fear, and then there's also laziness. A lot of people don't do things because they're lazy, and some people don't do things because they are fearful
That's true.
of failure. But I know plenty of people that never make a decision about anything because they're lazy, and that laziness has just turned into this quagmire in their life. Well, I don't have that problem.
No, you don't.
Okay?
And that's why I asked
And
you.
on the other side, I'm not afraid of failing. You fail, you move on.
I'm the same
Failure
way.
for me
Yeah.
is.
But it's taken. It takes you.
Yeah.
I don't even look at it as failure. I look
I
at
just look
something
at it
and
as
I said,
learning.
well, you
Learn something
exactly.
from
It's a journey.
You've learned
Yeah.
not to do
That's
that
right.
again.
That's right. What about you, Jackie?
What's the question?
What are you grateful for that you take every day and go, God, I'm grateful I started that or did that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would just be and we talked about this on the podcast I was on. It's just, I think having a partner and who's also my husband, also my best friend, having that support system. I think it's amazing what you can do and accomplish when you've got someone cheering for you or someone who always has your back. It doesn't
Same
mean
goal.
they have to.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean they have to agree
Same
with
goal.
everything, But I mean, and we certainly have our things that we, maybe don't agree on, but
But you get over it, yeah.
we get over it. We know how to discuss it and not, you get your feelings hurt or. I mean, I trust him implicitly so that.
That's the key.
Yeah,
Trust.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
you can get, even if you disagree on something, like I trust her. So if we disagree, I trust that
Well-
it's probably going to work
Trust
out.
but verify.
It's
Yeah,
probably going to work
yeah.
out. So It's like, okay.
But everything does work out. Things work out.
We recently had a situation where he said, if you could just say X is coming, but I may be winging it, like, just give me a heads up. But you know,
I may be winging it.
like, if you could just give me a heads up that you might be winging an idea, because I'm a little more.
Well,
I
she
might
does
be a
not
little,
want to tell you what her plan is.
Are you a little more secretive? What is it?
It's so.
It does
So
come
is it
across that
is
way.
it more? Yeah.
I know it comes across that way. I really have. I think because I've never had anything like this in my life. Like, I've never had a career or something that's this
your baby.
big, that has my name on it, has my face. It's us as a couple. You know, we have people working for us. So this is one of the most meaningful things I've ever created, like, in my life.
Right.
So, and I used to be someone who blurted everything out that I was doing, you know, and I mean, I would overshare and I would, you know, and it was just like, I've come to realize, especially with this, you know, this means so much to me. It's not secretive. It's just, I want to protect the creative process that goes into some of the decisions that we make. Like, I'm a little bit like, we just met this person. I don't think we need to, like, tell them all of our hopes and dreams. And
you don't need
to.
No, that's the thing. You don't want that energy out there, because people will destroy you.
I think when you do, you invite.
You do. You invite it in.
You.
That's right.
And
you don't have to tell everything. Just zip.
And we had touched on this a little bit on when I was
Me and
on.
you,
which
we talked about it.
And I'm having a little, I don't know really how to describe it, but it's just, I mean, this may sound really bitchy, but women in business, like, particularly women in business and female founders and all this stuff. And when did we start making our feelings or how hard it is or how, like, when did that become like the marketing plan? You know, like,
As
this
opposed
is
to just
hard.
doing
I
it.
just do it.
You
and
mean they're not
shut-
grinders?
Well,
They probably are grinders,
but they have to share the narrative to explain how difficult
Wow,
it is
that
to
drives me.
become.
Drives me nuts.
And they have to
Drives me
report
nuts.
in. There's two things I feel that happen.
Women drive me nuts.
No, they do. And I'm starting to
And
get
I'm
to
one.
that point where I'm feeling like these women, and they put out good products, they have great businesses.
Very talented.
But when they start using that as a branding or marketing tool, I mean, I get it, it's like you're vulnerable, whatever, but it's like I actually think you're doing a disservice to other female founder. Like, it's starting,
You're right.
I'm not able to articulate
Well,
it, but it's starting to really rub me
Well,
the
it gets
wrong
into
way.
the world of now that it's more welcoming in this world to
sorry.
use words like authenticity
Yes.
and vulnerability.
And vulnerability is my strength.
Yes,
and
so
yeah.
and now
I
I have
can't
to,
stand
now
that
I have
word.
to, now I
I'm
have
so
to,
vulnerable.
Now I, have
I
to
hate being
constantly
vulnerable.
Yes.
explain it and
Right.
tell you about my true self
Right.
and what it means to hold space
Right.
and how
Yes.
it is that I can start this revolution.
But why do they do that?
Right.
I'm in my
with all of
masculine and you're in your
traits and-
feminine.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
we're just fucking
yeah.
humans,
And
man.
it's
So-
just like, no, we're just like
We're just
do
don't
the
trying to
work.
do
just
the
Yeah.
same
up,
thing.
Show
Show
up
up.
as you are. And,
Yeah.
can
And just
we do
keep
it?
showing up. That's
Yeah.
the issue. You're gonna have failure.
Well,
Show up, show up, show up.
And we like people do. They're like, oh well, people they they want to meet Jackie and Roger because like we're the okay.
Yeah, you're
Well,
kinda
you're
famous.
kinda
like,
famous.
yeah, but
well,
you
you
know,
know.
do we need to be? We also are really proud of the fact that we've like hired amazing team members and
Oh.
like everyone is. We have to differentiate. Now we feel like we're their work parents. It's like we have to differentiate all of their strengths and we help on them. We help them with their.
There's a lot in managing.
There is a lot of
There's
that.
a lot in
There
managing.
is.
You've gone to
Different
that now.
ways.
Yeah, and it's like if I were to sit in my car and I have an idea about something, and the first thing I'm going to do is go to this and talk into my camera about really something I should just be having a conversation with my partner with, or a one-on-one with one of my employees,
Creative
or whatever.
person, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just like it really bothers me. The other thing I wanted to mention was I do think that when you overshare your process or your, an idea you want to have or whatever, you also invite the customers or potential customers, you invite them to, can you make it, can you tweak it this, now it might be different for like a color blue or whatever, but it's like, gosh, I'd really love that shirt if it was like a totally different color, or
if it was a totally different shirt.
If
it instead of Kenny Rogers, could I have Rod Stewart on there?
Right. And it's like, okay, so it's like, I think what happens is then you invite these people also to think they can get a deal. I mean, this hasn't happened to me, but
It happens a lot with
because we're
Jim.
buds now. You've included me as an audience member
Yes.
in your.
I'm special.
What do you guys like? Yes or no? This or that?
Yeah.
What do you got? A poll.
Because you involve them.
Because you involve
them in
them.
their creative process,
Yes.
but not even in their creative process.
You've
You just
invited them to the
involved them
table.
anyway.
Yeah.
You just took them to the table. That's
You
exactly
did. You
what
invited
you did.
them to the table. You,
As opposed to showing up and being the expert in what you're doing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
teach people like, no,
Yeah.
this is what you want.
Yeah.
And the people
Yeah.
that want it,
Yeah.
you'll find that customer
Yeah.
base. And also listening to a standpoint of like
Right.
you were telling me with like bringing in specific menswear and things like
Yeah,
that. Of
yeah.
like, but understanding
So-
the needs
Yeah.
as opposed to someone's opinion.
Well,
Right.
you've asked us what our challenge or our
did I even
thing
answer
is,
that
but
question?
I thought it was
Let me-
great.
I would say in essence, we have each other to
Yeah.
talk about ideas
Which is
and develop
great.
a product with.
Yeah.
So
We're lucky.
By the
We are
time
lucky.
that product goes out onto the floor of our store, we've developed that idea, okay?
Yeah.
Now, my question to you would be, as an artist, artists always seem like they're alone in their process.
Yeah.
But maybe you have someone that you bounce ideas off of, someone that you can confide in.
I do.
Yeah.
So I have a business coach
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
that I've been utilizing for a year and a half. So from everything else outside of creative, we work on a every other week basis, and then every quarter we meet to set up quarterly goals. At the end of the year, we set up a full year plan and everything. And that's where I need help the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the part that can feel lonely.
Yeah.
The creative part, when people are like, boy, these trips that you go on by yourself, man, I'd love to go on one of these with you. And in my head, I'm like, there's no fucking
There's
way.
no way.
anybody
Why
can
would
go
I
on
want?
this
Yeah.
trip. There's a reason why I go and drive 1,700
yeah.
miles
wanna
in
be
4
around
days.
people.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, no, dog, that ain't the process, man.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
chit chat my
So-
face off.
Yeah, as opposed
So
to
Yeah.
you don't really need assistance, nor do you want assistance in the artistic process.
No,
but
'cause-
other aspects, the business side or what have you.
because I find with being, I mean, and using these words like we were talking about earlier, in the true sense of how I go out and find things, of being present and aware with what's around me.
Yeah.
If I'm being attuned to that, I'm seeing it as is, as opposed to something. Now I can think of an idea,
Yeah.
and I can try to execute it, and sometimes it may not. It may not work in the thing that
Yeah.
that I thought, and that's okay. So there's things that I'll look at to inspire, and not even other artists, but I look up different. I'll find something about a town and dive into it. A lot of mine is searching in spaces of areas,
Yeah.
coming across a story that highlights something and diving into this world. I'm like, I didn't even know this existed.
That's cool.
So
So it's basically you're on a solo mission. You're doing all this by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you rely upon for any assistance is the business side of what you're doing.
it's the business side. I'm looking from the standpoint of a publicist to just branching ways again of like leveraging my time.
I was going to ask you that.
So-
Does the business person do that sort of thing? Is it more
No,
like
we-
what to charge, get your plan together for the year?
We
what,
focus on all the numbers. So,
Okay.
what are my leads? What are my conversions? What's my
Okay.
average dollar sale? What's my
Yeah.
number of transactions? What's my profit margin? Branch out in ways of me going to High Point to visit with.
Oh, they gave
to
you that.
fit-
Okay, that's a great
Well,
idea.
we didn't. She didn't give me that idea. She's not a consultant. We came up with that.
Yeah.
She knows that I start thinking, and that's my brain of, instead of me getting in my car and driving around the state to find a place in San Antonio or
Yeah.
a place in Houston, let me go to the home furnishing capital of the United
Yeah.
States and talk to 8 different showrooms at one time. So then, boy, if I can convert one of those,
Yeah.
fantastic. Even if I don't, I got into the world now of how these showrooms operate. And then I'm sitting here talking to this lighting company out of Detroit, and they're like, Jarrod, we really like things with like cars and music.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can do? And I was like,
Well, maybe
No,
not
not
the
me.
music, but
I was
no.
like, yeah, I got you on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean,
He
so-
loves music.
I know.
So and I don't, because there's definitely a collaborative side, but I don't need others in that
Right.
Yeah.
vein. I
That's
keep
good.
that world
Yeah.
open in that too,
Yeah.
so that it's constantly evolving, so that it's not the same thing. And so, at some points I can feel pigeonholed, and then I can take these 2 shots that I took outside of my building with people in traditional Hispanic ballet wear with these beautiful flowing dresses, and be like, oh yeah, shit, man, I still got it. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
still,
yeah.
and it is about
Right.
like
Yeah.
being out in the world and finding these things. So if I'm looking at it like that, there's always something new.
You
Yeah,
know, there,
which is cool.
There are, my experience in knowing a lot of artists over the years and watching how they operate, there are artists who congregate in like an old warehouse, and they're all in there together, and they
Yeah.
collaborate, and they cross-pollinate ideas, and that's how they operate. And then there are artists that don't want to have anything to do with anybody else. They're by themselves. That's how they operate. That seems to be the way you operate as well.
Well, I looked at it from a standpoint of I created these sets of values and the way I looked at things that I would try to incorporate into the corporate world for years, and they were always rejected. And when I started off in this venture, and I was like, wait, I get to blaze this own trail that I know that works. I know that it works. And I can dictate that from a control side. And then that's how I said from the very beginning, collaboration and joy are the price of admission into my world. And then is there curiosity? Are there ideas when we're talking about things of, when I'm talking to a new showroom or something, and they're like, what if we did this? I'm like, go on. That sounds like a great idea. We did that many times,
Yeah.
just in a small, and we
Right.
tried some shit that didn't really work that well.
But we were all in it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I find that from an artist side, there's this conception of business that it's like,
Yeah.
they're like, oh no, like
Yeah.
you have to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a
oh,
box there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't think, because like, I got a collection of people that support it and that understand it, because I don't stay in the artist world. I go and find people in other businesses that
Yeah.
are like-minded, that are in the same space that I am. That's where I pull from. I pull from y'all. I pull from these Australian brothers that own 5 coffee shops in Dallas. Y'all are in totally different businesses, but we all have the same customer. And understanding that, which many
Right.
artists can't figure that out.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I've sold $60,000 worth of art off this coffee house wall in Dallas in 2.5 years.
That's amazing.
And so,
Yeah.
Just them going in, having coffee, seeing the art, and
Yeah.
digging and saying, well, who's that?
because it's also in the right neighborhood.
Well, plus he's trying different
Yeah.
things.
Yes.
And
Right.
Yeah, you're constantly
and
evolving.
one
See,
of
that's the
things
thing, it's
that I think
change.
you've touched on, you really didn't go deep into it. There are young artists out there, okay? And you go to see their art, and for me, it's not very deep,
Right.
okay? There's a reason for that. They haven't lived very long.
That's
They
right.
don't have the life.
They don't
haven't
really,
done
they don't
anything.
quite get it, yeah.
And
You just don't have the experience.
That's
of
all
life.
it is,
Right.
yeah.
And the best thing that I think any kind of artist of any kind can do is go out and experience the world
Yeah.
and see different things and figure out what they like and what they dislike and where they want to be and observe people and see what people respond to. And you seem to have done lots of that.
If it was just up to me, without understanding what it is that customers want, I would just keep shooting neon signs and be like, no, you want this, even though no one's buying it.
'Cause you
but
like
it's
the neon
no,
signs.
it's kick-ass. But like, so a lot of times, yeah, those sometimes kind of sell, but like a lot of that's for me.
Yeah.
But then there's other areas that still hold the adjacent side of that, that that hold true. But like I
Right.
think a lot of times it can go one or two ways. They can find something, do that one thing because it sells really well, which is great.
Yeah.
That would bore the shit out of me. Or it's people like, no, this is what I do, and it's like, well,
Okay, here's
Yeah, it's
another
not-
here's
it's
another
not
question I've
good.
been meaning to ask you for a long time, and I always forget when I'm with you.
I love it when
Okay?
Roger's here because it's his
So-
podcast.
So good.
So you're creating art that is someone else's art. Now let me explain that
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
You photograph a car. Some other artist designed that car.
Absolutely.
You're photographing a building. Someone else designed that
Architect,
building.
yeah.
100%.
You're photographing
Anything.
Design, yeah.
art of nature.
An old
okay?
oil drum.
Yeah.
Someone else
else
created
The
that.
old set for, what's it
And
called?
So it is kind of interesting to see your what your eye sees in someone else's art.
Yep.
Okay, and what was the thing that I was thinking of? It would almost be funny to see you photograph art in a museum.
Yeah.
You know, like what would
Oh,
your
that might
angle
be good, yeah.
of a piece? You know,
I have some stuff from the MoMA that I've been into, like as I kind of shoot in that way.
well, and think of the buckle thing that you did with us. That's when it struck me. It's like he's shooting, like that's our art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those buckles are our art,
Yep.
and you shot those in a way I never would have looked
Yeah.
at that before.
Or that saddle, that Louis Vuitton saddle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's sort of fascinating
Yeah.
to see that. Now we have other artist friends who are photographers, and they don't shoot stuff like that.
no.
They are
It's
shooting
not
something
product
completely
photography, it's
different.
Completely
Right.
different, yeah. Yeah. I think this kind
Like
of
even the
touches-
neon sign,
Yeah.
those neon sign shots that we had that you showed us up in Wyoming or wherever that was. That was just amazingly beautiful art. And so you're shooting the art.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's shooting something that there's something that is drawing me to it, because from an art side, from an Americana side, from a folk art side, especially with like neon signs and everything,
Yeah.
of capturing something that has sat there, that has illuminated this main street for decades,
Yeah.
Right.
and showing that to someone that has no idea where Sheridan, Wyoming even is,
Right.
and bring this small, just this one frame of history to a wall in Dallas from
Yeah.
Sheridan, Wyoming, that they have no other connection to it other than this. So can I give it its best representation through my feeling and my eye of it, that it can still live in this world?
What would be your piece as an artist to take to the people, like if you were to give some sort of advice to the young people out there that might be listening, that they want to be an artist, they really would prefer to do that than to do anything else? What would be your suggestion to them? How to just walk through that fear that I
Yeah.
call fear, Roger calls it just doing it, like
No, for sure.
Challenge.
challenge. Yeah.
There's so many things. Create
Start creating.
and get feedback
That's right.
to understand what it is and start taking details of who's drawn to it. You know,
So make like notes, like
you start
know
understanding
psychology a little bit.
Well,
people.
you start understanding who your target audience is.
Yeah, which is
So when you can figure that out, and then just knowing that, and then knowing how to talk to people about your art without it being an artist statement. And I know that these things are
Yeah.
needed in this world.
But are they?
You know
But are
me when
they?
it
I
comes to
know.
a standpoint of how.
How about just say this is what I do?
You know, and there's a reason. This is the reason why. And when I got very clear with who my audience was, and then, like I told you, my first show, my therapist said, put prices on it that make you really uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable. Yeah.
I just said okay, in that way of just like, yeah, there was fear there because I've just never done that, but there was something about it, like when you're ready to do it. When she said that, I was like, okay. And then I did it, and 3 sold to like
Yeah.
complete strangers.
And
like
you weren't
family.
comfortable with those prices. You were like,
Well, I mean,
"Ooh,
I'd
this is
never
getting-"
sold anything. Like
Yeah.
this was something that I fully created with no one else's backing. That wasn't this
No,
company
I get
that
it.
I generated. And I
It's
was like, I'm
ballsy.
going to put this on this wall and just see if someone comes across.
It's like standing in the nude,
and they want to
just
spend
hoping.
$3,000 on it.
You know,
Yeah.
I can completely relate to that statement because that's how when I first started doing these hats.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's
I've
I
never
know, I
really
was gonna
told
ask
anybody
you.
this, but when I first started doing these hats, I thought, no one's going to buy these hats.
Yeah.
So what I have to do is find people that love them
Yep.
and will wear them if they get them for free.
Yep.
Because sometimes the people that love them the most are the people that can't afford them.
Yep.
So that's how I started, and essentially it let me off the hook of worrying about, you know, selling it and selling the hat, because they were getting a hat for free, and people were asking me for them that loved hats.
Yep.
So and then, you know, through the course of doing that, it did a number of things, not the least of which made me confident in the product. But I can certainly appreciate you putting a price. The first time I priced these hats,
Oh, when they're
I think I'd
pricey.
made several hundred and
Had you?
given them away by that point.
Until I put a stop.
Oh,
to
he
that.
did
You're
give
like-
them away. Well,
Yeah.
my mom bought 3 of
I
them.
think you've done your
Your give back. You've done your give back.
But that's the thing. But
Yeah.
like that type of R&D
But seriously,
with a young
that
artist,
think about it. But wearing a
that-
jacket that somebody made or a hat that somebody's put.
I mean, for me, there's a lot of places that I go to that I pitch them like, let me put this in here,
Yeah.
and
Really?
under the condition of like, let's see what.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: of like, I'm working with this Pilates studio in Dallas that they have 3 different studios, one in Uptown, one in Preston Hollow, and then one in far north Dallas. So 3 different types of
Different, yeah,
audiences,
yeah.
but in the
Right.
within the right economic side. Putting a piece that kind of befits what that audience is, because I know a younger audience is going to want something like
Yeah.
LA.
Yeah, some sexy.
the
beach
one-
scene.
Yeah, the one in far north Dallas. Let's go ahead and put
Yeah.
Prada Marfa up
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But knowing those audiences
yeah.
and knowing their tastes, and it may, and then let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And if it doesn't work,
And-
you start recreating, which are, you know,
Yeah,
you go to the
but
next
of
thing.
like, but for me, of like finding things that aren't like these high risk, that are more tactical. Can you be tactical with things? Giving hats away was tactical.
Yeah.
I mean, that is when you're talking about, you know,
I just think
clothing.
for
That's
me, I
smart. You
think
couldn't
that-
do that because nobody could wear it. You know,
When,
know,
when
it's-
for artists, when they do not know who their audience is,
that's a hard thing.
when you're trying to sell something to an audience that can't afford,
Yeah.
but you keep
Pushing.
shoehorning in.
Yeah, yeah.
When you just see what others are doing from a standpoint, for me, I look at places where they don't sell art.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, yes, do I go to showrooms for sure, but like where strategic alliances of people that is the same type of client. My client buys art, but where do they go work out?
Right.
Pilates, because only
Where did
rich
the-
people can afford
where did
Pilates.
they
Well,
get
yeah,
coffee?
that's,
Where did they
that's-
get coffee?
That's
I mean, it's
actually
an
a
expensive.
good point.
I mean, think about
You
it.
want to be where people, you
Yeah.
know that they're being pre-qualified for you.
Basically.
They have to have the money to buy your art, but they're spending it on something like Pilates.
Yes.
You know, for me, that was another aspect of the evolution of giving hats away. What I was trying to do was ultimately get my hats on the heads of people that could afford them.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? The people that can afford them are not going, and these hats were, no one was wearing a short brim hat when I first
No.
started doing it. The people that are bold enough to wear these hats when I first started, they are the artists. They are
Yeah.
the people they're bold, but they have no money.
Right.
So what I was trying to do is work my way up what I call the influencer ladder, till ultimately, you know, actors, they're not bold. They ask their Pilates instructor what they should wear, or their you know, whoever. They're asking somebody else who is already
Their
wearing the
stylist.
stuff. Yeah. So that's how I was giving hats away until I was finally at a point where they had enough presence in the market that the people that were high profile people, they saw these hats on people that they respected for
When
style.
you focused on a market, that's what I did too. Like early on, I wasn't trying to sell to everyone. I realized I was like, I'm going to focus in this part of Dallas, in this part alone. Like
And
not
bigger,
even-
and you wanted bigger,
and
bigger
like,
art.
let me go where my clientele is, and let me just focus on that area, because I also knew in the same vein, Someone buys a piece of mine. They have their friends over. Person comes over and they're like, my gosh, this is a beautiful photograph. The thing that I want them to say is, let me tell you about the photographer.
Or the story behind the
Yes.
shot.
Yeah.
Because
Because you tell the story for sure
Yeah.
when it's bought.
But that, and what do we know? People want things that they see, but they want their own
Yeah.
within it. And where my work comes of, it is absolutely one of one, if
Right.
need be. You can
Yeah.
get the neon big text in there for sure.
Yeah.
But
But I think your art goes in any home. But I also believe that you should love what you buy.
oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And then you put it in your home. I am not big on the matching the art to the home.
No.
Or
Okay, you know what I'm
the
saying? I
idea
feel like
that
your art
it's
should
an
be the
investment.
evolution
Or
of
it's
the
an
house.
investment, or
Yeah.
this one's popular, so I need to get it.
I want to have what he has. I
Yeah.
don't like all that.
No.
You don't want to have, I mean, maybe same artist, but anyway, I want to tell y'all all, thank you so much for coming on. And I can tell you guys are throbbing through life and doing it the right way and living your dreams. And I'd have you on any other time. I want you on like as much as you want to come on.
Yeah.
I would
I'm
love
very
to. I
grateful
would
for
love to.
all of you
Thank
and your
you.
friendships.
Thank you.
And if you can think of anything else you want to say or tell people, do it. But otherwise, I think we had a great time.
Yeah.
Great conversation.
It's always fun.
It's fun when we.
Well, it's easy to
I know, I
talk
love
when you're
y'all.
with friends.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
friends that are also like-minded from a standpoint.
Yes.
That's the biggest part.
I think that's
Right,
what it is.
right.
I
Well,
think
it
it's
gets back
more.
to, it gets back to what we were talking at the very beginning.
The
Our
ugly
most valuable
hotel.
commodity is time.
It is.
Yeah.
And if we're just sitting around talking about broken motels
Yes.
and Google Docs,
That wouldn't have been fun.
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
that would.
I don't like Google Docs
That
anyway.
would have gotten that swimming pool doesn't go too deep.
Yeah.
You're
So-
right, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that's the kind of conversations they're having.
They're comfortable with.
And
it.
that's why I don't.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I don't like it, and it just doesn't make me comfortable.
Right.
But I also am not going to share everything with y'all. Do you have any questions for me?
I'm out of
Turn the
words.
tables.
I'm out of
Did we
words.
cover it all?
Yeah.
Did we cover it all?
There's more, but we're
There's
good.
always
We'll have a
Part
sequel.
one.
Well, part one. Now we got part two
Yeah.
coming up.
No,
Okay. Well,
it's
thank
good.
you
This
guys.
series is
Thank
not
you
this
guys
series.
so much.
We love you, Kelly.
Yes,
Love you,
love you
Kelly.
guys. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for coming on.